A very good evening and welcome everybody on this Thursday evening to Let's Talk Politics. I'm your host, Eddie Layne, and tonight I'm joined by two veterans in the business, two ministers of the government as well, as we discuss the progress we've made as a government since assuming office in August of last year, and of course, to dispel, to respond to dismantle some of the lies and misinformation being spread by the coalition. We know that they've built their last 5 years while they were in office on lies and misinformation, and that has cost them, but they seem to have not learned anything, and they continue with those same traits of trying to misinform and ill-inform and mislead the Guyanese people. I have with me in virtually this evening as we discuss this program and discuss these issues, Collin Croal, the Honorable Minister of Housing and Water, and of course I have Bishop Juan Edghill, the Honorable Minister of Public Works. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you this evening. You heavyweights, if I may, on tonight's program.
Good evening, Eddie, and good evening to our listeners. Bishop, good evening.
Eddie and my colleague Colin, and to all your viewers and listeners, it's a pleasure to be here. So let's talk politics.
Certainly, the problem I have had with the two of you, uh, Bishop and Minister Kroll, is that I've been trying to get either of you for the last couple of weeks to appear on this program, and I was very much unsuccessful. And unsuccessful, I'm not disappointed because the reason why I couldn't get hold of any of you is because you've been in the fields, been with the people across this country in the various regions, meeting with them, listening to their concerns, and find ways of addressing those concerns. It's a complete contrast to what the people of this country would have grown accustomed to for the last 5 years, where they had a government that was in office that was hiding, and I made mention of this, that held taking government to the people, but they took the government to the people from office of the president to Coffee Square in air-conditioned tents. And the people had to people could have made maybe 50 steps more to get to office of the president, but they went to Coffee Square. So we had a government that was hiding. So people a lot of people have grown accustomed to not seeing their government. Unfortunately, or fortunately for them, we have a government that has been in the field, and it's for that reason I couldn't get hold of both of you. I'm going to give you a chance to maybe make some opening comments with regards to where we are as a government, having taken office in August, just 9 months ago, and the progress that we've made and the benefits that we've given to the people of this country. I'm going to start with you, Bishop.
Well, Eddie, what we have simply been doing is what we promised the people of Guyana. The kind of leadership that we provide is what is called servant leadership. We serve President Ali and his cabinet on a daily basis without time limits, have been reaching out, engaging, receiving, and going to the people, serving them, talking to them, educating them, ensuring that they have access, showing them the opportunities that are available, and ensuring that their lives are being bettered. As for me, in the public works sector, this is a daily routine, uh, and this is not a Monday to Friday engagement. This is Sunday to Sunday. Some people have asked how I get a chance to go to church, but yes, I do go to church every Sunday. And whether I'm in my own Venice Cathedral or elsewhere, but we're out there working because government does not stop at 4:30 in the afternoon and begins at 8 o'clock in the morning, or the government does not come to an end on Friday afternoons at 3:30. It's 24 hours. People have needs, whether it has to do with fixing their roads, their city fences, ensuring that there's river transportation, ensuring that the aerodromes are functioning, there are adequate services at the ferry crossing, the rice farmers and are getting their paddy to the market. The speedboat services are operating. The Demerara Harbor Bridge is functioning. People are getting their COVID tests and being processed properly through our airports. And you can go on naming the multitude of concerns. So whether it's people in the night, a corridor of street lights went down, people want them fixed immediately. People want to ensure that they are secure in their homes. So we have to respond, and this is the difference between the PPPC. We are accessible. There are days that I have to respond to scores, and I don't want to exaggerate, some days, hundreds of WhatsApp messages, voice notes, and photographs of what is taking place, and people sending information and sharing with us concerns that we have to respond to. And I'm sure my colleague, Minister Croal, is having that same experience because he's in a sector where every Guyanese, their eyes are on him. I need my house lot. I need my scheme to be regularized. I need to get my situation going. So he could speak for himself. But all of our colleagues, and it's a matter of joy because for us as a government, when we can minister and serve and bring betterment to the lives of people, uh, it makes a difference. All right. Well, that will be my opening remarks. Looks, I thought we had some technical difficulties, but I will pause for now. There are lots more that we're going to say as we go along. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Bishop. I think we're getting a little bit of a challenge there with Minister Kroll. I figure it will be sorted in just a bit. But Bishop, like you said, the job, and I hear you, the job is not a 8 to 4 job. And clearly, you're demonstrating that by the mere fact you're still sitting in your office talking to us at 8:15 in the evening. So clearly,
But
the
this is
government
early.
has been
This is
feel,
early. 8:15 is early some nights. Some nights I have my last meeting 9 o'clock, 9:15. It depends on once it's a secure environment and I don't feel threatened by who is coming and what we're doing. My office is open even late at night sometimes to meet people. But that is not
exactly,
an invitation
and
to share here now.
And clearly, it's a demonstration that this government is committed to working with people. And it's like I said, it's a complete contrast to what we've been seeing or what people would have grown accustomed to for the last 5 years. I know you had some difficulties there, Minister Kroll, but I'm glad that you're back with us. Your opening comments, you have been, you know, for the last 3 or 4 times I've been trying to get you on this program. You made commitments, but every time the night reached for you to appear, you're somewhere in some one of the regions among the people trying to resolve the issues facing them. What has it been like for the last few months?
Good evening, Eddie. Eddie, let me start though. Before I answer you, let me start about the way how we operate as a government, and this should be no surprise to anyone. I just want to remind our listeners to even to the period when we were in opposition for the last 5 years. We went to every single community, and we didn't wait until there was the no confidence period or just before election. Throughout the period, we were there with the communities. We were updating the villagers about and the residents about what the PPPC stands for, reminding them about the mistake that they made having when they voted in the 2015 elections. And we did this continuously. Even so after the no confidence motion period, it was very easy for us because persons knew we were consistent with the message we were bringing. And so let's move to the period now that we're in office. In the very first day, our president, President Irfanali, sat with us right at the conference center and reminded us how we got to this point. and he had charged all of us as ministers that we ensure that we be amongst the people, we be within the communities, within the villages, but not only about being there to listen to their concerns, but being able to address them. And so he said to us clearly, he does not want us to be what you call desk-bound ministers. And when you see us as we operate as ministers, it's very easy for us. We enjoy what we do. We do this because, as Bishop said, we believe we are servants of the people. And so throughout the period, we're approaching 9 months, and throughout the period, we have been everywhere simply because we also have to catch up. Nothing much happened within the prior 5 years, and there's so much to do. And there's even an expectation by the citizens for us to do this and to fix what has not been done as quickly as possible. And so, for myself, in the area of housing and water, probably we'll need a whole program for that. But you can understand the reaction from the villages, from the communities, from the NDCs, from all the local authorities, the responses that we've been having, requests for us to engage, notwithstanding operating in a global pandemic, notwithstanding of us having concerns about large gathering. We have been receiving numerous requests of us to be there, to be able to listen to the matters that concerns the citizens, matters that directly affect them, and hence why we're at this juncture. You can see us all over the place, but not in a programmed way. And I want to start off from that perspective.
All right, the contrast here. I'm hearing some background sound. Oh yeah, yes. The contrast here is the fact that while our ministers and ministers Mustafa, Minister Dharamlal, uh, each and every minister, Minister Sukai, being in the interior all the time and touching every community, listening to the concerns of people. And this is a reminder, Minister, you touched on the fact that the president himself outlined what he expects from his government, what he expects from his ministers. And this is a demonstration of the commitment of a government where we stay true, we remain true to the fact that we're elected by the people for the people. We were elected by them to serve them. Hence, the ministers, the president himself has been reaching out to the communities across the country. Sadly, on the other side of the fence, instead of having a group of people who apparently learned nothing for the 5 years they spent in office and for the treatment that they received at the March 2nd, 2020 elections, have learned nothing about service to the people. So what do we have? We have them in parliament, outside of parliament, all over the place, um, with their usual destructionist kind of behavior. They peddle their lies, their misinformation, they try to divide people, and they create confusion. Let alone, and Bishop, we're going to talk a little bit about how many of them were caught with their hands in the cookie jar. We're going to talk about that a little later. But the fact that that is all they do, they continue with their style that they had in government. No tricks, no living. And they're continuing with their tricks to get by. Every single day when you listen to them, it is a complete circus. There is no opposition. It's a complete circus. And I think Durban Park is an ideal place that they built. Remember, we had a circus recently there. I think the government, we should maybe look, Bishop, how we can make that place available to the opposition so they can carry on their circus, because nothing constructive, nothing that is contributing to national development, absolutely nothing. And I keep saying, when they go to parliament and the government comes with something constructive, what do? They bang on the tables and they head out. They wait for 12, 1 o'clock for their usual thing. So it is a complete contrast. Colin, you wanted to say something, so I'm going to bring you in
So
here.
you already have a ring for your circus.
Bishop, I mean, you have been talking about this ever so often. We spent 5 months in opposition during that transition period, rather, and we were talking, we were pointing out to the people of this country the the nature of the PNC and the true nature of what they try to plot in calling it the APNU AFC, but it was really the true PNC coming back with their ways. They spent 5 years in opposition doing it, and we're seeing it every single day, using their one trick from the book: racism and lies.
Well, Eddie, the dozens or scores of meetings, community engagements that we have had, uh, that I personally attended and participated in, we have spent considerable amount of time speaking about Guyana's future, Guyana's developmental agenda, trying to bring people together, engaging people at different levels, retooling, reprogramming, realigning the economy. And when you spend time doing those things, it is almost sickening to listen to that squeaky, irrelevant, desperate voice who is trying to get some attention and to be relevant. And their contribution on every single occasion is based upon lies, deception, misinformation, rumor mongering, concoctions of despicable nature that you want to know if we really have a responsible opposition anywhere in the country. Their arguments in the National Assembly are hollow. They continue to practice the culture of bullyism. They move about with their grand scheme of deception without any shame. They embrace the lunatic fringe elements as if they are mainstream uh, participants for Guyana's good. And it will look as if something is not sensational. Uh, it is not worth getting involved in. And their razzle dazzling is amazing that people actually would sit and listen to them on Facebook. I guess it's for the entertainment and the laugh. But the truth be told, the PPPC coming to government has been a breath of fresh air. In Georgetown, the hardcore PNC APNU operatives who visit my office, who come to the ministry for services, they will say to you frankly, they're not talking name, but gentlemen, you guys are doing a fantastic job. We really make a mistake. We have to correct our wrongs. We have to do better. I can't promise you that I can join the party, but I'm here to let you know my skills and my abilities are available for national development. And worse than all of that, some of them would tell you that even though they supported the APNU AFC, they didn't get a single job in the last 5 years. And that shows the nature of what we had. They took the people's vote, went into office, and did not even look after their own. So we have a situation while they are out there um, belching and what we should say, speaking in thin air. Their own supporters are looking for leadership. They're looking for services. They're looking for development. And where are they coming? They're coming to us. Not just because we are in government. I could give you an example. I went to Andysville and Prossville in Linden with Prime Minister Mark Phillips. We had just come from an outreach out in the upper Borbis, upper Demerara, Kokoani, Aichuni, Ururu area. And we went to those two communities the afternoon when we came into Linden that day. The Sunday after, the PNC APNU put together a delegation and they went to the community. And here we tell the community, don't bother with Edghill and Phillips. They can't do nothing for you. The people laughed them to scorn. The people asked for support. The late Jem Narine, who we mourned her death, went in there and distributed 400 hampers in a matter of days after we were there. They asked that their road matter be addressed. The engineers went in there, worked with them. Designs are being made to fixing their roads. They complained about they weren't getting water. The Honorable Collin Croal was contacted the same night. The people are having some water. They had issues with their land and a sawmill, and lands and surveyors went in, addressed the issues, trying to establish ownership and all the rest of it. And they're going to tell the people, don't bother with Edghill and Phillips. They can't do nothing for you. So the people are laughing at them. Every day I get texts from the people, when you're coming back, we want to talk to you. We want to get this done. But they went there to tell the people, don't bother with Edghill and Phillips. And in days after we were there, the people's issues were addressed and the people were crying out for such services for 5 years and more because the PNC, who kept them away from the PPP by their lies, saying, look, these guys ain't interested in Afro-Guyanese. These guys only look after Indo-Guyanese. And that's the rhetoric that they carry to them. The people have seen genuine Afro-Guyanese leaders in the PPPC cabinet, in the government, who are delivering for the people, who are talking to them, and they're engaging. On Saturday, I'll be in Baggersville, Denamstel, and Stourbville in Region 3, deliberately going to those three communities where they are strong APNU supporters, but they need services. They want to see me. They want to talk with me. The regional chairman and I and others will be in there to engage them. And, you know, what do the PNC opposition, APNU, have to offer? Keep noise, protest, bankman tables, coerce them, bend over, show your rear. That don't bring development to a country. That don't help children to get to common entrance. That don't help them get scholarships to study. That don't help them get online and get a degree. That don't help them go through college and get a trained teacher certificate. That don't help them get a house lot. That don't help them get training at the Board of Industrial Training. That don't help them get a small business loan to develop their business. The PPPC is doing that for them. And all you have is a bunch of sore losers who gripe every day. And in order to spend their hour of fame on Facebook, because that's the only place they probably can go, and hide behind their phones, they have to produce every day a new set of lies, deception, and concoctions that are so poisonous to the Guyanese society. I think your mic is muted, Eddie.
I'm going to bring you here. Yeah, I'm going to bring you in here, Minister Kroll, in just a bit. But Bishop, and this is exactly the point that we're making, that all they can do is spread misinformation and lies. And you give us a perfect example. You give us a perfect example where they went into a community to say to the people that Bishop and Phillips can't do anything for you, when the people recognize that the Bishop and Phillips are already dead by being there. And that is what is happening across the country. That is why we're seeing an opposition in a crisis. I mean, when an opposition could go to the level to put Sherrod Duncan and the others in parliament, clearly you have a crisis. But that crisis
Eddie,
is getting worse.
let me just say this. A man in Mara, till long at the back of East Bank Borbis, I went in there 2 Sundays ago, Sunday afternoons ago. Hear what the man said. 50% of our stress done. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not do nothing. Just the fact that you come. Just the fact that you come. 50% of his stress done. We ain't seen nobody for the last 5 years in government.
Exactly.
Just the fact that you
Colin,
come.
I bring you in here. I
That
mean,
is the activity we're getting.
I bring you in here because you're seeing them now. They're very visible now on social media and all over the place. I just glanced and I saw three of them remotely. They're doing a program virtually with one of them with a mask. I think he's afraid of Sherrod. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but this is the kind of people, this is the caliber of people that you have to deal with while you have a government that is busy in the streets, in the communities, in the mud, meeting with the people, addressing their
And
concerns. I
meeting
bring
with
you in
their
here now,
own supporters,
Minister.
meeting with PNC supporters. That's the point they can't
With
take.
Guyanese, with
That
Guyanese.
Minister of Agriculture will go to Belladrum. They can't fathom that. The Minister of Agriculture will go to Buxton and Vigilance and Golden Grove and Anns Grove and take care of the people there. They can't fathom that the PPP will do that and the people will respond. That's what got them jumping and with their misinformation campaign.
And Eddie, what that does is take away their only trump card, not even trump card, but the only card and the trick, oldest trick in the book is resorting to the issue about talking about race. And so we have gone to every, and as Bishop said, we have gone to every single community. It doesn't matter the demographics, it doesn't matter who they voted for, because when you elect us, we elect us to serve everyone and every citizen of our country. And that is so that has thrown them out in confusion because they're not sure what angle to bring their attack and opposition. So hence, you will have the noises being made every night inside the ring, but nothing of substance. And so, whether it's in Parliament, you have all that noise trying to disrupt the positive messages we're trying to bring to the listeners and to the people of Guyana. But you never hear them bringing any tangible recommendation or even offering one word of support to ensure that whatever we're doing, it can help our citizens. And so, even if you examine what they have done in the housing sector, and this is one sector that has really got have them all confused. The housing sector, um, I see they have been asking a number of questions recently, but when you examine what the comparison of the two periods, Eddie, you there?
Yes, yes, yes,
Just
we are, we are, we are.
when you compare the two periods, they have listen this in the 5 years in office, they allocated up to the period, and I'm using up to August 2nd, they allocated about 7,200 house lots. This is whereby they gave and issued a letter and you distribute. Of that 7,002, you have about a 5,000 was to the period during the end of 2019. So in the run up after the no confidence motion, you have another 2,000, and just before the elections, another 2,000 being issued. But in all of that, the infrastructure work, they did not do any infrastructure work. So those areas that we had recently were resigned in February for about 14 areas in regions 3, 4, experimental region 5, and region 6. It is for even allocation that they've made for even some of our their support. Because as part of the election gimmick, they also it made allocations just before the March 2nd elections. We are now doing those infrastructure work. And so that is why I wonder, they're now asking a number of questions in Parliament. And we're happy for the questions because when the answers are out, it will shame them of what they did during the last period. Absolutely nothing. And even some of the issues that I find when I go into the communities, it has been festering for a long period. As simple as processing land titles, the transports, for areas that are complete for which you have no issue. No issue about ownership. Very little did they do. And so the citizens, they're happy. They have indicated every meeting that I've gone to. They have indicated they're happy about the change. They have a government who understands their plight. They have a government who understands that when we commit to the people of Guyana 50,000 over the next 5 years, never has it in no prior period. Our president, who's a former minister, who would have presented to our country or the people the manifesto of the People's Progressive Party Civic, understood what was the magnitude of what we were going to meet when we take over office and when we took over on August 2nd. And to many, they went around and they doubted the figures. They campaigned and said, no, it is all election gimmick, that we like the number 50,000. Remember, they were comparing with 50,000, our commitment of 50,000 jobs, 50,000 house lots. So they were saying we were just using numbers out of their pocket. And we've shown to them in under 9 months, we have already distributed, at December last year, 3,600. As of now, last week, we were in Essequibo for 350 on the naming. We will be back in Essequibo for another 350 for charity. And on this year, because as part of our commitment for over the 5 years, you will still have 10,000 before we finish with this. And the level of investment we have already placed in communities for their development, we're talking about $14 billion for new infrastructure works, for over 10,000 persons to be able to take up their land allocation and to construct their own home or for their own dream, to aspire to grow their own family, to live in that environment, that now that we're uplifting our economy, now that we're making the lives of our citizens, disposable income for our citizens much higher, it will mean that can be able to spend and enjoy a comfortable life. This is what we are doing. Just now, maybe with Bishop, we'll talk about the opening from road networks as a result of those opening, what will come on stream. But this you don't ever hear the opposition speaking about, but because they cannot. They have no track record in the area of housing and water. Absolutely none. And so what you will have is pure noises being made. They will continue to thump the desk to be able to distract, but they cannot. They absolutely cannot go into any community, no community, and speak towards the housing program, a housing program that they would have had that can compare and can talk about that as a parallel can be succeed what we have planned for the citizens of our country. The success story for all People's Progressive Party civic government, one of the sector's success story has always been in the area of housing. Always. And you just need to go to all the schemes that you have now developed. They all start under the PPP.
But Colin, if I may, we all know that the PNC have a way of putting the cart before the horse, and that is exactly what happened in your sector. So they realize that they haven't done anything for the people for 5 years, so they collect a couple of cow pastures or probably all over the place, without focusing on putting in the infrastructure. So if you speak to many of the people who were given house lots, the number is 7,000 plus that you talk about, they don't really know the house lots because they can't recognize it in the places that they were given. There was no infrastructure, there was nothing happening. But I want to make a point, and you talked about 10,000 being achieved this year, and you talked about the 50,000. And I want people to understand, and Bishop, you will experience the same thing in your sector, I suspect. The the distribution of these house lots, if you want for a better term, is just one aspect. But we have to look at the benefits, the other benefits that come with an exercise of this nature. For example, 50,000 house lots or 10,000 house lots create jobs. At an average, 10,000 house lots, you look at it, 4 persons working on each building. And I'm putting it at the minimum. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes the same contractor may do 2 or 3 buildings in a scheme. You're talking about thousands of jobs. You're talking about opportunities for the hardware suppliers, for the sand trucks. You're talking about opportunities for the contractors to set up infrastructure in these communities. You're talking about people being able, and this is the most important, people being able to take a document to the bank where they can pledge that document. They can own a vehicle. They can probably use it to set up a business. They can use that transport to even build a house. They can use it to send their children to university. And I don't think they really need to, because we're going to talk about the 20,000 scholarships that are available. But when you look at when the PPP promise a service, a project, an initiative, it is not just the initiative or the project or the service on its face. It is about the accompanying benefits. And that is how a government with a vision, a government who understands the needs of the people, and a government who is focused on developing the human capital of a country, that is how such a government thinks. Bishop, you may have the very experiences in your sector as well.
Well, Eddie, it's no secret that the PPPC wears very proudly its pro poor, pro working class credentials. Unapologetically, we look out for the working class and the poor. We're not an elite group. We are working class oriented. The PPPC, their philosophy, we are working.
I think you have muted yourself there, Bishop, if you want to check it.
I think the
We
volume is
lost your audio for I think we lost his audio for just a bit there.
Yes, I'm saying that we are pro poor. We are
We
pro.
we we, we still not get, I'm not too sure if Colin,
but
if you're hearing
eh,
anything, but I'm not.
let me amplify what you the example you just gave. We have just started commencement of a number of low income houses at Comislodge. Comislodge 1767 and 1768 we intend to develop. If you go there, and I'm going there again tomorrow, every single one of those houses that are started, the construction, there's a minimum of 10, not 4, 10. A minimum of 10 persons be employed right now. So on average, there are about 40 houses. Right now, there's a total of 190 we're doing. Of 40, 40 by 10 will tell, if you go right to the back there now, you will find 400 persons employed in the housing sector directly for the commencement of construction. The spin-off in all of that, those are the direct labor. The spin-off in that, you have the transportation sector, you have whether it's the horse carts, whether it's at that level, trucks, you name it, they're benefiting. The people who are selling snacks, the people who sell snacks on the roadside, they too benefit. You saw one this week, a news item whereby someone was able to give their success story as a result, because they're now supplying from Sapphire, they're now supplying blocks for one of the contractor that is involved. And so it amplifies itself. And we're not going all the way up. I'm not speaking all the way up to the supply of the materials. We're talking about on the ground, the persons who are directly benefiting from a simple exercise like that. And then you also have the upliftment. of that entire community as a result of what you will see in another 5 months. I think Bishop
Bishop,
is back.
are you back with us?
I want to know that you're hearing me.
I'm not. Yeah, we're getting you now, Bishop. So go ahead.
It
You were
might,
about to make a
it,
point, but Colin had a
it
fleeting
might have
word.
been, it might have been the internet. But I was making the point that we don't apologize for being pro poor and pro working class. So our philosophy and our policies cater. What Minister Croal just described is not an accident. That is a design. We, our programs are designed to make sure people get jobs, and of course, the main objective is that they own their own home. Now, multiply what Minister Kroll has just spoken about, and we have road works, sea defense work. Uh, just in one program, we have just hired 305 young people across Guyana who are involved in community projects in the various towns and areas, 305. They're going to be working every day. Every time you award a contract for a road or city fences or drainage, it's employment for people, but it's also development for people. So you're building a bridge in a community, whether it's a timber bridge or a concrete bridge. It's work for people. So every time we dream about Guyana's development, Guyana's infrastructural development also brings upliftment economically for the working class and for the ordinary man, our young people. And of course, with the other sectors that are being strengthened, information communication, tourism, agro processing, the need for engineers and the sciences and in education and getting things done at a higher level. Our young people who are getting their university degrees and they're becoming certified and they're graduating, they are also being engaged. So sooner or later, the middle class of Guyana will be so grown and be so expanded that we will be able to graduate again. Because remember, Guyana was at one time a highly poor, indebted country. When we left office in 2015, we were being described as a middle income country. Sorry to say that we had 5 years of stagnation, things weren't really happening. The private sector was practically shrinking, limping along. People were just waiting for the opportunity to correct their mistake and get things going again. So, our young people, our working men, our single mothers, the entrepreneurs of our country, the working class, the professional class, they are all convinced that they have a piece of the pie and they can participate and benefit from Guyana's development. And that is our overall objective, ensuring that Guyanese benefit from Guyana's prosperity. So our local content policy, bringing in foreign direct investment and demanding that locals be engaged. This afternoon, I went to a graduation ceremony where 58 Guyanese were certified as welders at ECI, but they are working on the Wartsilla project at Garden of Eden. Wartsilla could have brought in their people from other jurisdictions, but they trained Guyanese men and women who are now proud to hold certificates from both Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago that they could work in any part of the world certified and they are building. Through the Board of Industrial Training, my colleague Minister Joe Hamilton, we are engaging young people. At one time in the last dispensation of the PPPC, we trained a lot of young people to operate heavy duty machinery, the bobcat, the bulldozers, the excavators. Some of these young people went to the interior We were doing that to help with our roads and our other infrastructure development. And one month, they're working for 700,000, 500,000 minimum. This is what we do. And we are proud about what we do. Things have not always gone perfect, but look at the bigger picture, the multitudes who have benefited. And I think what the opposition would like to talk about is not the cantalload of pumpkins that come out of the river and is loaded at Perica that gets to the market. They would like to talk about the one pumpkin that rolled out the canter and burst on the road and how it was made a mess on the road. That's what they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the tons of watermelons that are now at the markets, whether it's Border or Stabrook Market. They would like to talk about the one rotten watermelon that when the man cut it, it spoiled, and they would like to get a photograph of that watermelon and to make Guyana as a place of rotten watermelons as against the place where we are feeding our people, we are bringing businesses to our people. They don't want to talk about the young man who is moving his business along. They want to talk about the young one who got a problem and he ain't got nobody to finance him yet. So he's struggling and complaining on Facebook. That's the one they would want to magnify. You will always have challenges. But how do you judge your success? How do you look at things? You have to look at how many are benefiting, how it is impacting families, how we are improving communities, and what are the testimonies of the multitude of people. And I'm sure, Eddie, all across the media, both social and mainstream media, those stories are being told. It's not that we are satisfied or we are patting ourselves on the back and saying that all is well, but we have to give Jack his jacket. And like the other man would say, and Sheila his skirt. Because if you can give Jack his jacket, you also have to give Sheila his skirt. We have to ensure that you sing the praises. And people also say, self praise is no recommendation, and you shouldn't blow your own trumpet. But who knows the keys on your trumpet better than you? That is why we blow our own trumpet. That is why we tell the stories. So whether they are single moms, whether they are women who have been neglected, whether it be men who just need opportunities, whether it's reviving cane farming communities where people could breed again, because this is something that people don't want to talk about. Those cane farming communities where all those people were retrenched, they would like to show the cane farmers protested for more money. They don't want to show how many thousands have already gotten back their jobs and how the suicide rate has gone down because some of them ain't have to kill themselves because they can't take home money. But families and communities are going again. People are breeding again. Everything is not perfect. So I don't want to paint that picture. But there have been significant improvement. And should we continue along this line, it's only good that will come to the people of Guyana. So, like we've said over and over, the PPPC is good for Guyana. We have been good for Guyana.
And interestingly, Bishop, you talk about the cherry picking and the usual attempts by these elements in the opposition, the usual lies, misinformation is, and I heard Ramjatan appearing on a press conference and is talking. Imagine Ramjatan of all persons talking about crime and security to say the crime situation in this country is so bad that you have a lot of petty thieves. This is the man who almost broke down in tears once and said, "I don't know what to do." When the journalists asked him about how he intend to tackle the crime situation in the country, he said, "I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." So Ramjitan, in his usual drunken state, is talking 2 days ago about crime and security and that the crime figures in this country is so high. But I want to share with Ramjitan and his gang, and I hope he is not in a state of mind where he won't remember tomorrow what I'm sharing now. Um, but I wanted him to to listen to this. And whoever's listening when he gets sober in the morning and he wakes up, you can tell him that based on the figures from the police, serious crimes dropped by 34.97%. Serious crimes. And these are the categories. Murder decreased from 41 to 32 when you compare the period in 2020, the period now. And robbery dropped from 240 to 142. So, Bishop, you said just now, everything is not perfect. We are working on it, but dropping from 104 from 240 to 142 is a huge difference. Break and enter larceny dropped from 221 to 160. Larceny from persons 39 to 11. Robbery with violence from 31 to 17. Burglary from 45 to 16. And the list goes on. So I don't know, Ramjitan, where exactly he getting this from. We are not saying that it's perfect. We are not saying that there are not still occasions where crimes are committed. But what we are saying is that there is leadership, and the law enforcement recognize there is leadership. People recognize there is stability. Many people who may have chosen crime before recognize that there are opportunities to earn a living legally now in this country. It's not a case where a few big boys, a few at the top, are taking all the contracts, are taking all the lands, are sharing out the jobs to their friends and families and cronies and nieces, nephews, neighbor. But it's a case where opportunities are being created for every single Guyanese, regardless of who you voted for, regardless of where you live, and regardless of the color of your skin. And Colin, the Honorable Minister, mentioned that they somehow always want to go back to their usual trick of pulling out racism to say, oh, the PUP is after Afro-Guyanese. The PUP is after corrupt, incompetent people and people who attempted to commit, or who have committed rather, serious crimes against the people of this country when they attempted to steal the democracy, to steal the election. Those are the people the PUP and the police, for that matter, are going after, because we cannot as a country sit down and allow a small group of people to think that they can steal an entire election. We cannot sit down and allow Trevor Ben to sit in some office and decides that he is going to take the land that belongs to the people of this country and give it to his friends and the friends of Harman and the others. We cannot sit down and allow contractors, because they're greasing the palms of Harman and the others, to construct, to do substandard work, whether it's on a stelling, whether it's on a road. We cannot sit down and allow Brian Tiwari to get prime real estate for whatever price. We cannot sit down and allow James Bond and the others to buy land for $200 and sell for $200 million. We cannot. Those are criminal acts, and regardless of the color of your skin, the texture of your hair, and where you stand in society, the People's Progressive Party Civic made a commitment that we will deal with corruption and we will be transparent. And if you commit the crime, prepare to do the time. Don't come to us and cry racism. And before I give you, both of you ministers, a chance to wrap things up, because we're almost out of time, I just listened, I just heard Trevor Ben, who Harman said is a professional that the PUP is going after, was sitting with Sherrod Duncan moments ago, maybe 10, 15 minutes ago, and talking about when we took office in 2015. This is the professional who is talking about when the PNC took office in 2015, including himself as part of that. And they're coming to tell us that, oh, we're attacking a black man because of the texture of his hair. That's the nature of the PNC. And the people of this country have recognized that and are continuing to recognize that on a daily basis. Minister Croal, I'm going to give you a chance to wrap things up. Then I'll move to Minister Edghill and we close the program.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, Eddie. Eddie, he's laughable. He's laughable in the sense that when you look at the accusations that they make in terms of how we're operating, whatever we're doing as a government, then you realize that they have nothing to hold on to. Everything that we've produced as to the wrongdoing and the skullduggery that has taken place over the last 5 years, it's in the open. There's not, based on the evidence we have produced that, and I don't want, if probably Bishop will need another program to speak about the mattresses and the bed, the queen size beds and the bangles and so forth under his ministry. But the whole aspect is we have campaigned that we will bring a lean and clean government. We will ensure that we have transparency. We will ensure that we keep a nation informed as to what we are doing. We will ensure that every major decisions that are being made, that we will inform and we through our various ministries, through the various channels. So the nation does not have to wonder. And of course, we will ensure that the necessary auditing is done on time. That is what we bring, the difference what we bring as a government. And so, Eddie, as I wrap up, I want to say that our work has just started. We have just started. And so while 9 months will seem maybe like more than a year, we are only now warming up. And we probably haven't reached to the warmth. Because we came to you, and I want to tell the nation this. We said to you, this is our plan. This is our plan for the next 5 years. So sometimes we have an impatient nation, but we have a plan how we will ensure that when we come to the electorate within the next 4 years, we will be able to say, yes, this is what we campaigned on prior to 2020, and this is what we did. And based on our track record, you can understand that you have a government that looks after and looks out for the interests of its citizens and its people, and that is the track record that we will continue to operate on. Only one track, that is to move our nation forward, to ensure that we work every single day of our life. Bishop said it in the opening. Ours is not an 8 to 4 job. We're on call all of the time because we have to respond. We don't go to bed at 8:30, like the former president, right? But we are on duty all the time. In fact, our president also, he calls us. Sometimes when there are matters arising, he calls us at any hour and we respond. And that is how we operate as a government. And we will continue to give our best to our citizens. Eddie, thank you so much for having me here. I know time is running out.
Bishop, the floor is yours to close.
Well, Eddie, let me first of all speak to the good people of Guyana, the people who believe in progress, who want to see Guyana move to greater levels of prosperity. I want to assure you that in your government, in your president, in your cabinet, the prime minister, the vice president, and all of us, you have people who are committed to you, committed to Guyana, and committed to Guyana's development. We will not be moved or derailed because of some criticism or some rumor or some distraction, no matter where it is coming from. We are resolute, we are confident, we are learning, and we are open for engagement with all stakeholders. So that's the assurance I would like to give to all the good people of Guyana. I'd also like to say to those who are still admiring us, but admiring us awkwardly. And I use that word admiring awkwardly because you could only criticize if you're really admiring. You have to be looking and noticing in order to criticize. But you're really criticizing, you're really admiring, but awkwardly. We're not
I like
perfect.
that, Bishop.
We're not perfect. But I can tell you what we are. We are hundreds of times better than what you had over the last 5 years. Your government that you currently have is one that is operating in a manner that is non discriminatory. Opportunities to all Afro Guyanese. And I would beg that Cheryl Duncan and Christopher Jones and the whole Lunatic Fringe group, Ben Scott Bork and company, should come and take photographs of what happened at all government ministries when the days come. See the amount of Afro Guyanese who come in and leave smiling because their issues are addressed. And they didn't have to sign a PPP party card before they get to see the minister. They just came to their people who are prepared to serve them and they leave satisfied. We are working for all Guyanese. So whether it's in education, with the 20,000 online scholarships, please apply. Whether it's in the housing sector, I know my colleague Minister Croal and Susan Rodriguez have been fair. They've been trying to deal with the backlog, preparing for future. Whether it's in agriculture, whether it is in tourism and business and small businesses. Listen, whether it's single mothers going to Minister Vindhya Prasad, we have been working in the interest of all Guyanese. Your government is a government for all the people of Guyana. The electoral process has come to an end. We are installed as government and we're not governing for the PPP. We are governing for all the people of Guyana. So whether it is Linden, whether it is Buxton, whether it's Kokwani, whether it's Chordville, Iflog, Bagostung, Bagosville, wherever you live, whether it's Belladrum or number 5 or wherever in New Amsterdam, we are there with you. And Eddie, one of the things that every Guyanese should be proud about, and I want to use this as my closing, is the great efforts that the President Irfan Ali's administration has gone to protect the lives of Guyanese by ensuring that we get vaccines for every person who desires to get one. There are countries who don't yet have a vaccine. There's countries where not even one citizen has been vaccinated. We have just gone again to add to the stock of vaccines. And I want to say, you can't enjoy prosperity if you're not alive. And this whisper campaign and this propaganda that is on the ground, where some people are using religion and race and other foolishness to prevent people from going out and getting vaccine, I want to address it. I want to call upon all the people of Guyana. I took the Sputnik V. I don't know what my colleague, Minister Croal, which one he took. But look, we're alive. I took the vaccine. I want to encourage all, whether it's a fire.
We all did, Bishop. We all did. I took it too. And we're still here.
Good. I want to encourage my brothers and sisters, be alive. COVID is real. And your government have expended, rearranged monies to allow for vaccination across the length and breadth of this country. We're going to get Guyana moving again, but this is a time when everybody should be vaccinated, where we should be able to acquire herd immunity. We need sufficient people to be vaccinated so we can get things back to normal. Our marketplace must be open. Businesses must be booming. People must be able to work in the factories. The call centers could open to maximum. People must be able to get back to work. And you got to cooperate with your government. And we're not only doing this in vaccines, we're doing this in education, we're doing this in every way, providing opportunities, but you still have to make the choice. So Eddie, I thank you for the opportunity of being able to share this program with you and my colleague and bringing to the people of Guyana what we've been doing, and of course, not forgetting the politics, because we're talking politics here. So thank you, sir.
Certainly, certainly. It was a pleasure to have both of you this evening to talk with the people of Guyana. I think this is what the people need in this country. They need to be, and this is an open and transparent and candid government. We have nothing to hide, so we don't need to hide for 5 years. We don't need to, our ministers don't need to change their phone numbers, because we didn't make promises to people that we know we can't fulfill. Um, it's a pleasure to have both of you. I know you guys been quite busy. I've been trying to get the Minister of Agriculture as well, but I may have to get him while he's in the fields, certainly to appear on this program. So again, gentlemen, it's a pleasure, and I want to join with you, Bishop, in endorsing what you closed with regards to encouraging our brothers and sisters to get vaccinated. And if you're going out, to ensure that you wear a mask, that you social distance. If you don't need to go out, please remain at home. The COVID is a serious issue. We have surpassed the 100,000 mark in terms of vaccination of people, but that doesn't mean that COVID is going away. That doesn't mean it's a free for all for you to go out in the streets and to do whatever you want. Please be careful. Minister Croal, if you want to add to that, I'll give
I,
you a chance before we wrap up.
I just want to wrap up, Eddie, by calling on all leaders, whether you for it doesn't matter which group you belong to, which religious organization you belong, regional structure you belong to. I'm calling on all leaders to get out there, lead the fight within their various communities and groups to encourage everyone to be vaccinated. The faster we do this as a nation, it will help all of us. Our government is investing billions of dollars so that we can have the adequate vaccination program to service our nation. But that as time goes, the longer our citizens take to become vaccinated, remember, there's a huge demand out there. And so there are many countries, as Bishop said, many countries where people are lining up. Only today, I saw long lines in Canada for persons who are lining up just to be able to be vaccinated. So I please everyone, all of us, we as leaders, we need to play our part because our lives are equally important for your nation and for our personal development.
Thank you ever so much, gentlemen, for being here. And this is where we're going to wrap things up. Bishop, Minister Croal, it was a pleasure. To our viewers, we want to say thanks for joining us. We're going to be back with you tomorrow evening. Michael Gordon will be with you. And of course, I'll be back on Saturday evening as we continue to talk politics and to keep you updated. Gentlemen, have a good rest of the evening.
Good
You too.
evening.
Good night.